Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming in today to our Understanding the Issue of High Blood Pressure presentation. My name is Cindy Quintero, and I am the Community Impact Director with the Greater Phoenix American Heart Association. Did you know that nearly 1 in 2 adults in the United States, can we take it back to the other side? So nearly 1 in 2 adults in the United States have high blood pressure, and yet less than half of them have ever been actually diagnosed. And according to America's Health Rankings, almost 33% of adults in Arizona have been diagnosed with hypertension. And that is more than the national average, and it equates to about 1.1 million people. That's enough people to fill the State Farm Stadium where the Arizona Cardinals play 17 times, or it's the same as the entire populations of the city of Mesa and Tucson combined. So that's a lot of people. And of those who know about their high blood pressure, only about 44% have it controlled. And blood pressure control rates were improving from 2000 to 2010. But since then, they have actually been declining. And all of this despite of easier access to many generic medications to treat hypertension. And high blood pressure is an epidemic for our community, but it impacts some communities more than others. So the frightening thing about high blood pressure is many people with hypertension think that they're doing just fine. So as we can see, there's an urgent community need with 1 in 2 African Americans having high blood pressure, 1 in 5 Asians or Pacific Islanders, 1 in 3 Hispanics or Latinos, 1 in 4 American Indian or Alaska Natives, and 1 in 6 children in the United States. So heart disease, high blood pressure, stroke, and obesity are serious diseases that negatively impact our lives and people in multicultural communities at higher rates. So just a note on the statistics about children with high blood pressure. How many of you know that the current generation is not expected to live as long as their parents? It doesn't have to be that way. We can lower our risks by implementing some small changes into our lifestyles. So let's look a little bit up at the facts about blood pressure so you can better understand how your body works and why it's smart now, no matter what your blood pressure numbers are. So what is blood pressure? So in a nutshell, blood pressure is just the force of the blood against the walls of the arteries. And so blood pressure measures the force of blood pushing outwards on your arterial walls, and then the organs in your body need oxygen to survive, right? So oxygen is carried through the body by the blood when the heart beats. It creates pressure that pushes blood through a network of tube-shaped arteries and veins, also known as blood vessels and capillaries. So the pressure or the blood pressure is a result of those two forces. And so the first force occurs as blood pumps out of the heart and into the arteries that are part of the circulatory system. Then the second force is created as the heart rests between heartbeats, and these two forces are each represented by numbers in a blood pressure reading. Next, please. So every time you go to a doctor, they check your blood pressure and they tell you 2 numbers. So blood pressure is usually recorded and written like a ratio. So right here is 117 over 76, which reads as 117 over 76 millimeters of mercury. And so the top number is the systolic pressure. This is the pressure, like we mentioned earlier, when your heartbeat forces the blood into your arteries. And in this case, the larger number, in this example, it's 117. And the bottom number is the diastolic pressure. And this is the pressure when your heart relaxes between the beats. And this is the smaller number. In this example, it's 76. So diastolic is the bottom. Just think about it as the down number. So high blood pressure is known as the silent killer. In 2019, more than 500,000 deaths in the US had hypertension as primary or contributing cause. And nearly half of adults in the US have high blood pressure yet many don't know that they have it. So uncontrolled high blood pressure is common. However, certain groups of people are more likely to have high blood pressure. So a greater percentage of men have high blood pressure than women. And then high blood pressure is more common in non-Hispanic Black adults than in non-Hispanic white adults, and non-Hispanic Asian adults or Hispanic adults. And like you said, high blood pressure is dangerous because it can lead to stroke, kidney problems, vision problems, and eventually heart failure. So right here we have blood pressure categories, and it's color coded. We have from green all the way to dark red. So your normal blood pressure within the optimal range or less is, so your regular normal blood pressure is range of less than 120 over 80 millimeters of mercury. So that's the green, that's where we want to be. Then we have the elevated. So the elevated is the yellow portion, and elevated blood pressure is when readings are consistently reading more from 120 to 129 systolic and less than 80 in diastolic. And people with elevated blood pressure are likely to develop high blood pressure unless steps are taken to control it. Then we go into the orange portion, which is the third one. This is high blood pressure or hypertension stage 1. And this is when blood pressure is consistently ranging from 130 to 139 systolic or 80 to 89 diastolic. And at this stage of high blood pressure, doctors are likely to prescribe lifestyle changes and may consider adding blood pressure medication based on your risk of atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, such as heart attack or stroke. And you can learn more about your risk by using the Check J control calculator that's in our website. And then we have hypertension stage 2. This is when blood pressure is consistently ranging at levels 140 over 90 or higher. And at this stage of high blood pressure, doctors are likely to prescribe a combination of blood pressure medications along with lifestyle changes. And then the last one that we have is the really dark red. And this is when high blood pressure requires medical attention. If your blood pressure readings suddenly exceed 180 over 120 millimeters of mercury, wait 5 minutes and test again. And if your readings are still this unusually high, then it's important that you contact your doctor immediately. And this is because you could be experiencing a hypertensive crisis. And if your blood pressure is higher than 180 over 120, and you're experiencing signs of possible organ damage, such as chest pain, shortness of breath, back pain, numbness, weakness, changes in vision, difficulty speaking, it's important that you call 911. And high blood pressure obviously puts your health and quality of life in danger, and it can cause things such as kidney disease or failure, vision loss, sexual dysfunction, angina, peripheral artery disease, heart attack, heart failure, and stroke. This is why it's very important for us to understand our numbers. And so above 130 over 80 is high risk. So most people who have first stroke have high blood pressure above 130 over 80. And the main cause is usually unknown, and there are typically no symptoms. So you probably won't feel like there's anything wrong. It's important for you to know your numbers. So high blood pressure is a serious disease, like we've been talking about throughout this whole presentation. Every time your blood pressure goes up by 20 over 10, your risk of heart diseases doubles. And heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States. So what puts you at risk for high blood pressure? Common hereditary and physical risk factors for high blood pressure can include family history. So if your parents or other close blood relatives have high blood pressure, there's an increased chance that you'll get it too. Age, so the older you are, the more likely you are to get high blood pressure. And as we age, our blood vessels gradually lose some of their elastic quality, which can actually contribute to increased blood pressure. And however, children can also develop high blood pressure. Gender, until age of 64, men are more likely to get high blood pressure than women are, but at age of 65 and older, women are more likely to get high blood pressure than men. And race, African Americans tend to develop high blood pressure more often than people of any other racial background in the US. So what are some modifiable risk factors? So we just talked about basically the risk we just talked about are the ones that you can't change, but these are modifiable risk factors, meaning that you can contribute in some way to make these changes in your life. So one of them is lack of physical activity. So not getting enough physical activity as part of your lifestyle actually increases your risk of getting high blood pressure. And physical activity is great for your heart and your circulatory system in general. And so this is for blood pressure, pressure is no exception. An unhealthy diet, especially one high in sodium, good nutrition from a variety of sources is critical for our health. And a diet that is too high in salt consumption, as well as calories, saturated and trans fat and sugar, carries an additional risk of high blood pressure. So on the other hand, making healthy food choices can actually help lower your blood pressure. Being overweight or obese, so carrying too much weight puts an extra strain on your heart and circulatory system that can cause serious health problems. So it can also increase your risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and high blood pressure. And then the last one is drinking too much, oh no, there's my, sorry. Drinking too much alcohol. So regular heavy use of alcohol can have mental problems. It can also cause heart failure, stroke, and irregular heartbeat. So it can cause your blood pressure to increase dramatically and can also increase your risk of cancer, obesity, alcoholism, suicide, and accidents. Another one is sleep apnea, high cholesterol, diabetes, caffeine, smoking, and using tobacco can cause your blood pressure to temporarily increase and contribute to damaged arteries. And this also goes to secondhand smoke. So the exposure to other people's smoke also increases the risk of heart disease for non-smokers. And then the last one is stress. So despite your efforts to make lifestyle changes, you might still need to take medication. So when blood pressure is high, high blood pressure medication may be an important part of your treatment, and your healthcare provider will also likely recommend lifestyle changes along with your medications. You may even need more than one type of prescription medication to keep your blood pressure at a healthy level. So while you might have fears and concerns, the long-term health consequences of uncontrolled high blood pressure are often worse than any medication side effects. So if you do have a concern, talk to your doctor or pharmacist. So that way you can talk to them about the important thing and how to put your health first. And then the last, learn to check your blood pressure. So to help your blood pressure, to help get your blood pressure under control, it's good to learn to check it at home. And this requires the use of a self-monitoring blood pressure cuff, and the American Heart Association recommends you use an arm cuff with an accurate sized cuff. And the standard cuffs fit most arms, but if you have a larger upper arm, you can purchase a larger cuff online. The AHA does not recommend any brand over another, but we do encourage you to look for a device that is on the validated device list. When you take accurate readings at home and then share them with your medical provider, they are able to get a clearer picture of how your blood pressure is doing. And so we have some resources to assess your risk factors and get your heart score. You can visit www.mylifecheck.org, or you can visit manageyourbp.org, and then lower your hbp.org. So just if there's any questions you have, the American Heart Association website has a lot of information on healthy eating, how to manage your high blood pressure, healthy recipes, and different ways so you can be more physically active at home. And so I think we are at the end of our presentation. Thank you all so much for watching this, and I hope that you learned a few things that can help you have a heart healthy life. Thank you for attending.